Elizabeth Bathory was born in Kingdom of Hungary on 1560 into an incredibly powerful Protestant noble family that ruled most of the region. She descended from multiple noble lineages and included the King of Poland and the Prince of Transylvania among her relatives. Though there were many famous people among his relatives, her family tree also featured some seriously disturbed kin. One of her uncles instructed her in Satanism, while her aunt taught her all about sadomasochism. She also suffered from health problems as a child, speculated to be epilepsy, and was prone to seizures. She was trained by her family to be cruel, taught witchcraft, and exposed to satanic worship. There's no evidence to support any of this. What we do know is that she was raised in luxury and a level of privilege denied to the vast majority of Hungarian citizens. Growing up, Bathory witnessed a great deal of violence. She reportedly watched her parents carry out abusive punishments against the family's servants or those accused of crimes. One story claims that when a Romani man was sewn alive into the body of a dying horse, the 10-year-old Countess Bathory laughed at the sight. When Elizabeth Bathory was 10 years old, she became engaged to the 15-year-old Count Andasti, who also came from a prominent Hungarian noble family. Bathory had been engaged for 3 years when she was impregnated by a lover from a lower class. As a result, she spent most of 1574 in isolation, and after the birth, Countess Bathory's family sent her baby to a peasant family. When he found out, Andasti ended up having Bathory's peasant lover castrated and torn apart by dogs. But with the child hidden, Bathory and Andasti married in 1575. The couple settled into Ksafe Castle. To please his wife, her husband reportedly built a torture chamber to her specifications. Bathory's torture included jamming pins and needles under the fingernails of her servant girls, emptying them down, smearing them with honey, and leaving them to be attacked by bees and ants. Andasti became commander of the army and embarked on a military campaign against the Ottomans, leaving his wife in charge of his vast estates and the governing of the local populace. Since then, views that Bathory tortured her servants began to spread. When he died in the early 1600s, she became much worse. With the help of her former nurse and a local witch, Bathory began abducting peasant girls to torture and kill. At first they were servants at her castles, daughters of the local peasants, but later they included girls sent to her by local gentry families to learn good manners. She believed that drinking the blood of young girls would preserve her youthfulness and her looks. She often bit chunks of flesh from her victims, and one unfortunate girl was even forced to cook and eat her own flesh. Some were beaten to death, and some were starved. The noble families, who had more power than the families of the peasant victims, turned to the King of Hungary Matthias for help. Bathory's behavior was swept under the rug for years because her relatives administered the local councils and courts. But once she started targeting noble families, her abusive activities could no longer be ignored, and King Matthias instructed Count György Thurs to investigate the allegations against her. During his investigation, Thurs collected reports from over 50 witnesses and became convinced that Bathory was guilty. However, none of the people whom Thurs interviewed had personally witnessed anything, and many were merely repeating hearsay. Despite claims of hearing sounds of a whip and screams of pain, no one could give hard evidence of torture. Even doctors who'd been called to the castle said that they hadn't seen any signs of abusing their patients, although admittedly they'd only seen the patients' faces. After her arrest, Thurs continued to take depositions from locals, amassing over 300 different witness testimonies and reports. In the end, Thurs attributed 80 victims to Bathory, although some claim that Bathory herself counted over 600 victims, which according to the Guinness Book of World Records, makes her history's most prolific serial killer who was a woman. Although Elizabeth Bathory avoided a public trial or conviction, she was placed under house arrest and solitary confinement in Kachtas Castle. For 3 years she was kept in the Walden room and was given food through a small passage, until in August 1613 she was found dead on the floor. Despite the seemingly abundant evidence against Bathory, she may have been the victim of a conspiracy. King Matthias had owed a large debt to Count Andasti, which had transferred to Elizabeth Bathory after her husband's death. Although the stories cannot be proven true, She inspired vampire legends.